Absorbing all the things that are around me, sounds and the noise and just beats inside of me. I'm a kid of the 90s. I grew up, listening to grunge and all that stuff. In the mood for love, side to me that's quite sentimental and romantic, but then there's a side to me that appreciates things that are very raw and undone and natural. My Own Private Idaho, Kurt Cobain, things that don't feel forced, things that never feel precious. A fashion victim with a 28-inch waist. People think fashion is so superficial or it's just so surface. In a weird way, it's autobiographical. It's reflective of how we feel. For me, there's real sentimental attachments to things that I've worn.
I should sometimes be more reckless. I wanted to start with something that had a little bit of context. It helps in menswear, base it on something that people are familiar with. Take a denim jacket and sort of embellish it. It has a long history, especially in the US, as far back as the 1950s, the bikers, and then into sort of punk. What can you really embellish in menswear? Pearl rivets, classic rivet, just kind of a general, zeitgeist. It's modern American. It's trying to steal my ideas. In menswear, that's really tricky, to make something beautiful and still have it be masculine.
Definitely a believer in noticing the guy walk into the room and then noticing the clothes afterwards. It looked like shark skin, rooted in the 60s. Films like Blow Up, Slimmer lapels, 60s London specifically, one of the last decades that I think men really took care in their appearance, dressed up. It's not a male corset, you have to take time doing it up. Relax, a bit more swagger in your stride. That pair of cowboy boots, derivative of a British military costume. The clothes should really empower the soul and the spirit of the man wearing them, not overshadow it.
So overwhelmed, trying to understand these personalities that seemed very foreign to me as a child. Naturally, I was interested in the great costumers of the American 60s, different social misfits, outcasts, prisoners, degenerates. I'm always looking at modern sculpture. I looked at a lot of bird cages, vintage hoop skirts, not unlike weaponry, forms of protection, chain mail, protective qualities of stone, different forms of shield, the history of punk rock and roll, Pierre Cardin's furniture as jewelry, Kenneth J. Lane, Mick Jagger, David Bowie.
Creativity really comes when it comes. You know what we can do? The creative process really filters through all aspects of the business. Large black jet crystals. A random thing happens. I guess you could just do definitely there's an irony that I love. Things that are kind of a little bit off. My vintage black t-shirt, someone ripped it off of me. You have to know how to move forward in terms of a business sense without compromising the brand. There's no formula, it's not a planned process.
We've cast nail heads before, bolts. The piece that I'm doing has speaker wire in it. Beetlejuice, Lost Boys, Art of Noise, New Order. Katie, it's really like bag lady chic.
Hi, how are you?
Cool downtown girl mixed with Iris Apfel.
Shower me when we bathed in crystals.
Susie Sue is a big reference. Oh God. Found this one snake head that was so amazing.
I was kind of like a nerd in high school. I thought that somehow if I could find the right clothes, that I would magically become really popular, Pygmalion-like. Fragmenting construction, Edward Scissorhands, obsession with vampires, use the crystals to symbolize blood. I was walking down the street and I saw a motorcycle. Just as an object, it was really beautiful, very complex, very removed from fashion, which I liked.
In the movie Breathless with Jane Seberg, she was walking down the street. Thought that was so chic, sort of American girl in Paris. Go with soft colors. When I was first learning English, when I was 9, I was given a stack of fashion magazines, a play on black and white photographs, platinum printed items, all these kaleidoscope colors, the neon lights, streets of Shinjuku. I was so fascinated, sort of my invisible muse. Paint chips I see in a hardware store, soft colors, my eyes are always open. Disguising the original intent of the material, manipulating it. Shinjuku, black and white photographs. kaleidoscope colors, invisible muse.
It's all black and white. It's made in like pleated tools. Something that is a little more graphic. How do I translate something? I just wanted to have fun with it. I just wanted to literally go back to, me as a student. If there's one thing consistent is the girl or the woman that I'm designing for. Thinking man's sex symbol, not in your face. Global, someone who's aware. Trying to figure out the culture. There's always a journey. Zadie Smith, Arundhati Roy, my white t-shirt, it's a blank canvas. I respond to red the best. It takes a lot of confidence for a girl to wear that. I don't know whether fashion can change the world. I don't know if there's anything that can change the world. What's fashion to me is about change. Because that's the only thing that's constant in our lives.
I've worked with Swarovski before. Actually, they've been huge supporters of emerging designers in New York and all over the world. And when I first started my company, they were one of the first people that sponsored my shows.
For the Swarovski piece, I started at the Swarovski offices, and I got inspired by just, a ton of the paler colors of crystals.
It's a real luxury to be able to just kind of go through all these thousands of things and pick this very specific thing that you want to use.
There was an array of beads and snaps and crystals and...
So we picked these crystals that were quite raw looking.
They've just come out with this bead called the Artemis bead that's kind of in a conical shape.
The Swarovski piece that I'm making for the CFD Awards, it is a lot of multiple sizes of crystals that I'm using. It's all black and white.
I wanted to take something that people saw as a familiar identity, in our brand, and then to kind of see it through the way that Swarovski might interpret the design.
My inspiration for this Swarovski dress was to use crystal to highlight different textures.
I wanted to take this bead that they make and kind of encapsulate it, kind of cap it and cover it in metal.
It's a crystallized fabric, which kind of almost, for me, when I saw the product, it looked like shark skin. And so we're using it as a twin stripe on the lapel.
The actual tuxedo itself is, a charcoal gray with a bit of sheen. So it's quite nice to see the reflection of the material itself and the crystals just picking up on that as well.
There are like accents of crystal in the garment, but it's very understated and hopefully kind of, sophisticated. So I think it's going to come out really beautiful.